think so. All right. Behind the scenes. Hello. Welcome to episode 5 of the Layman's Guide to Whiskey with Max and Adam.
Max, Adam.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
We haven't changed positions at all.
Barely changed shirts.
Still, I don't understand why you have buttons.
Hides my belly button.
There we go. Today we're going to be doing another little 101. Today we're talking about Bottled and Bond 101, which is something near and dear to my heart. As you may have heard from a couple episodes, I have a blog called Bottled and Bond LA. I have an Instagram called Bottled and Bond LA.
I talk to people in person at a bar.
I was just saying because I'm saying I like Bottled and Bond whiskey.
Love it.
I've actually never seen you talk to anyone in a bar. So, might be asking yourself, what is Bottled and Bond?
What is Bottled and Bond?
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much for asking, Max. Bottled and Bond is a government stipulation about quality in spirits. So, imagine the far-off days of the turn of the 1800s, going to the 1900s. We have
Wearing hats like this.
I feel like I'm there. We have a brand new technology that comes along called bottles. And we end up in a scenario where people are starting to sell whiskey not out of barrels and not be shipped out, but they're actually selling it exclusively in the bottle. Old Forester is actually the first whiskey brand in the United States to sell their product exclusively in the bottle. You couldn't buy it by the cask. It wasn't shipped around that. It was exclusively in pharmacies in bottles.
And named after a famous pharmacist named Forrester. Originally, the bottle had 2 R's, and after he passed away, they dropped one of them. I'm not sure why after he died, but the whole idea was
Spell
appealing to the pharmacist.
Yeah.
And because at that point, and long time before, and if you ask me now, whiskey's medicinal. You know, that was, you would, my leg hurts. Take 2 shots. Call me tomorrow.
I certainly have a prescription for it. But you run into a problem when things are being sold exclusively in the bottle. How do I trust that this person on the street corner is selling me what he says they're selling me? And it was an actual problem. People were adding prune juice and turpentine, all these other things, in an effort to rapidly age your whiskey, which is a problem we never see ever again. Anyone wanting to make whiskey faster than they can.
One of my favorites with this is that they've actually found a recipe where it told you how much spit from a spittoon that you would add for the appropriate amount of color. So there was a reason that we needed to start getting things that we knew what it was.
Stay tuned for Max's new book, Spittoon Flavoring, coming this fall.
I like beech nut.
So, with this advent things going on, a group of distillers at the time, spearheaded by Colonel E.H. Taylor, went to the government and said, we need to work out something that assures people that what they're getting is quality. So they worked with the U.S. government to come up with a series of regulations called the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. This is essentially the Safe Food and Drug Administration Act, a good 9 years before the Safe Food and Drug Administration was passed, and about booze. So before we cared about what we were eating, we cared a whole hell of a lot about what we were drinking.
Priorities, people.
The Bottled and Bond Act did a couple of things back and forth. So in exchange for delayed tax credits and benefits and keeping a treasurer on site to lock and be the only person to have access to warehouses, the whiskey companies got a couple guarantees from the U.S. government about what it would say was going on with their product. So to be a Bottled and Bond product, it has to legally be the product it says it's going to be. So go back to Bourbon 101, back to Rye 101. The product in the bottle has to legally meet all the requirements to be that style of whiskey, first off, foremost. Or that type of spirit. You have bonded apple brandies.
4 years.
Has to be aged for a minimum of 4 years. So we talked about age statements before.
Right.
No real requirements over 2 years. But to be a bonded whiskey, has to be a minimum of 4 years old. Also has to be bottled at 100 proof. No more, no less. Always 100 proof, 50% alcohol.
Right.
In exchange for that, the government would stick a tax stamp over it, saying all the taxes were paid, and guaranteed 100% that everything in that bottle was exactly what the company is saying was doing, because you can always trust the U.S. government.
Odd segue, but it's a great thing for consumers now still, because there isn't a lot of clarity always with what's in the bottle, who's making it, what's the mash bill if you're interested in all that, the age, the proof. Well, the proof's normally on there, but the age isn't always. You see bottled in bond on there, you know what it is. There are certain things it fits into there. So it's great for, I find bottled in bond being a higher proof, it's got more flavor. It's going to stand up better in cocktails. I'm going to taste my whiskey, and I want to taste it.
For whiskey nerds like ourselves, as we were talking before about transparency, about where you're buying things and who's actually making it, if you were going to label your product as bottled and bond, you have to disclose 100% where it was distilled at and where it was bottled at. On the back of every bottle is a DSP label that says, which is essentially the area code and address for every distillery that's registered in the United States. So you go in the back of the bottle, you can see exactly where it was distilled, where it was bottled, you know exactly how old it is, you know exactly what proof it is, you know exactly what went into that product. And up until recently, they were always incredibly affordable products. You're starting to get more higher end bottled and bonds coming around as the cocktail resurgence has gone into its silver age, the whiskey thing's going on.
Even still, if you're looking, it is a great bargain most of the time behind the bar. And for me, it's what I prefer to drink most of the time. Yeah. I like that big proof. I want to taste my whiskey. And it's also going to be primarily because of those reasons, the big boys from Kentucky still. You don't see very many craft. I think there are a couple that do.
Well, they're too young.
They're young.
Leopold Brothers in Denver has a bottled and bond that's aging that I can't wait to drink.
Right. That's going to be great.
So I look forward to seeing this.
Don't, because they don't want to compete directly with Kentucky anyway, so they're doing different things with, which I really applaud.
That is actually the flip side of the bottled and bond. While you have a very clear sense of what the quality and exactly what's going to be in the bottle, it doesn't necessarily leave a lot of wiggle room for adventure.
No.
Yeah. So to recap. Bottled and Bond Act of 1897, essentially a handshake between big distillers and the U.S. government to say that we will label things exactly what they are. They're exactly what it says. Age a minimum of 4 years, bottled at 100 proof, distilled at one distillery in one distilling season. And in terms for that, you put your fancy stamp on it and assure everyone that's exactly what we say it is.
It's the good stuff. Yeah. I love that.
You should drink some.
Oh, sweet. These are good dimes. I'm choosing the Forester. I'm kind of partial to it, honestly.
That's because it's big and sweet.
Aww. Man, I love Old Forester.
Yep.
So much like cherry notes, and it's, a lot of times you say the same thing. It's cherry and vanilla and all that, but God damn, there's a lot of fucking cherry in there.
Well, as always, if you'd like to, if you like what you saw today, hit that subscribe button. If you want to have an actual drink with us, you can find Max here at the Chestnut Club on
most nights. Whiskey Tuesday.
And if you want to hear more about my thoughts on whiskey, you can go to bottledandbondla.com and read thousands and thousands of words and see some cool photos.
Come drink with me. Buy me some booze.